think she's calling me.
Thank you. So we're gonna start the webinar. So we're gonna keep communication to a point where people will be able to hear it, and then we go live after.
ओके। हा 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 हा। मुझे एक और वो करना पड़ेगा।
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining in. We'll just give a couple more minutes for a few more participants to join in, and we shall start in exactly 2 minutes. Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, valued sponsors, and ladies and gentlemen. It is my privilege to welcome you to OT Shield KSA, organized by Q&A. My name is Sai Sanjit, and I will be your host for the day. We're delighted to have you with us for this important virtual gathering focused on operational technology, industrial cybersecurity, resilience, and the evolving digital landscape across Saudi Arabia. Today's webinar brings together industry leaders, technical experts, decision makers, and to share support and perspectives on protecting critical systems, strengthening OT environments, and supporting secure industrial transformation. Before we begin, we would like to thank our innovation sponsors, TX1 Network, for their continued support and commitment to advancing OT security and industrial resilience. OT Shield KSA has been designed as a focused platform for knowledge exchange on the convergence of IT and OT, the growing importance of cyber resilience, and the practical measures required to safeguard industrial operations. The sessions today will explore strategic priorities as well as real world approaches relevant to the kingdom's industrial and infrastructure sectors. A quick glimpse of what we have in store for the day. We will begin with an opening keynote, which will be followed by an engaging panel discussion and a fireside chat. We also have a quiz before we wrap up for the day. Please note that this is a live virtual session, so we encourage everyone to stay engaged, follow the conversation closely, and make use of the interaction features available on your screen. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the national anthem of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is a privilege to open OT Shield KSA at a time when security of operational technology is no longer a technical consideration. It is now a matter of national resilience, economic continuity, and strategic confidence. Saudi Arabia's industrial transformation is advancing at a remarkable speed, and the threat landscape is advancing just as fast. Critical infrastructure is becoming more connected, more automated, and more data driven. That is a sign of progress, and it's also a sign of responsibility. As digital dependence increases across energy, utilities, manufacturing, transport, and essential public services, the security of operational environments must advance with equal urgency. To begin with, we have a panel discussion in which we will hear from our esteemed panelists their thoughts and opinions about securing Saudi Arabia's critical infrastructure, OT security in focus. The panel discussion will be followed by a 5-minute Q&A session for the attendees. Kindly post your questions in the chat or Q&A box, and we will address as many questions as possible within the time available. The panelists for the session include Mohammad Al Sadani, Chief Governance Officer, BOD and Committee Secretary, MOA; Amir Khalid Pirzada, Chief Information Officer, National Metal Manufacturing and Casting Company; Abdul Rahman Al Musfir, Chief Information Security Officer, Middle East and Africa for Schneider Electric; and Mohammad Sibgatullah Khan, Director, Information Technology, National Petrochemical Industrial Company. Welcome, gentlemen. It's such an honor to have you here with us today. I'd like to begin with a rather broad question, specifically on how organizations can effectively bridge the gap between IT and OT security without disrupting industrial operations. Muhammad Sibgatullah, would you mind taking the first question on?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sai, for hosting the topic, and at the same time, thanks to the sponsors who is hosting this the entire session, because present situation, based on the situation and as per what is happening this region, I think this is one of the hot topic with which could be I could be saying like which has to be taken into consideration because things are moving and changing pretty much on a faster pace. So the question which you have asked me is related to the gap between IT and OT security.
That's true.
This question is basically it's a very challenging question. The reason is like many organizations make it uh, trying to enforce IT security models into OT environment. So basically, each and every company or infrastructure where there is an IT and OT different departments. OT is mostly about availability, safety, and continuity. It's not just confidentiality where especially to bridge the gap between IT, OT, I'm going to just drill down into four components, 4 to 5 components, I feel, which has to be taken into consideration. And I think it has to be work in a way that IT and OT are always aligned together. And it's not going to be something easy for each and every organization because it's more or less you could say there are 2 different departments, 2 different teams who are going to work on achieving the same company's objective on a higher level. So more while I'm going to drill down, like I'm going to mention few couple of like 3 to 4 or 5 points where I think this has to be taken into consideration to move ahead and focus on bridging the gap. The first is it could be the establishing a joint governance because this is one of the key and very important aspect. IT and OT team need to work as one. They cannot work nowadays in silos because if things are happening on an IT level, so even the OT has to be aware, vice versa. That means share accountability. Definitely, there the accountability has to be shared, and they have to work on common objectives and a way of a unified risk view. They have to see it on an organization level. Moving on the next, I could say that usually we have to adopt a risk-based approach. Not every system needs to be on the same level of control in comparison of IT and OT. So specifically for the OT, we have to be focused on critical assets that directly impacts production or safety and prioritize protection over there. The first and the most important thing is OT is more focused on safety. I could be saying 3 times. The reason is like the focal point over there is the safety, then the availability and continuity, and then it comes on the confidentiality. So these were the 2 points. Then I could even go more further on something which I'm sure pretty much like every company is already having it, but it is one of the key things which has to be done, which is a kind of network segmentation. The network segmentation is very much essential. It is something like you have to segregate your network from an IT system to the OT system. And at the same time, actually, what we are following is like we have very limited communication channel from the OT perspective to IT. We only fetch information. It is kind of one-way information which is required for us to integrate to different systems, and even the information which is especially coming from SCADA and PLCs. So one of the key point is like network segmentation has to be in place. If not, then I think it is a must that each and every company should have it. With that, I think one more important aspect is using non-intrusive security controls, which means basically more or less, I could tell you from an IT perspective, where most of the people are like the team is working on vulnerability assessment, pen test. All these things could be done on an IT system, and actually we could just shut down a system if there is any anomaly. But on the OT, it is not the same. It cannot be the same approach. We cannot take it because OT, you can't run aggressive scans or even a frequent patches also. In IT, we do nowadays it is a zero day trust where everybody and each and every environment has to be patched on a regular basis. But in OT, still we rely on a technology aspect where we are more dependent on the OEMs. Then moving on, which I could say like a final point, this is something additional where both the OT and the IT team has to work on a common framework or a common language. In our company, we are actually focusing more on IEC 62443, which is basically help us to align both IT, OT teams around consistent security practices. And finally, it's a culture and awareness where OT engineers and IT security teams need to understand each other's priorities. This could bridge the gap as much as we could. Sai, you're mute.
So yeah, I was just asking, with critical infrastructure sectors, specifically like energy and utilities, what are like the biggest cyber risks that Saudi Arabia is currently facing?
Uh, okay, the continuity of it is like presently, as of I just mentioned, the entire situation in Middle East is boiling. So if we look at Saudi Arabia today, especially in sectors like petrochemical, energy, utilities, the cyber risk landscape has fundamentally changed. It's no longer about IT breaches. It's about operational disruption and national impact, where the attackers or the people, they just wanted to have an impact on a country level base. So in this scenario, the first major risk is for nation state and highly targeted attacks are on oil and gas, petrochemical industries, and definitely energy and utilities is part of it. Uh, the strategically important is constantly under pressure that the like we as a company we have to have advanced threat actors aiming not just to only the steal data, but they wanted to have a long-term access to disrupt operations. And this is something like which has to be taken into consideration, and where we need to have more layers of mitigations, more layers of having controls in place. The one of the important thing is again it comes back to the first question, which is IT and OT convergence risk. We have to work along both the departments, or both the you can say different technological team to work along with each other to achieve the best out of best. Uh, then moving out, where usually it happens, it is happening. It is something like a kind of natural legacy industrial systems. which are placed still on-prem and which are more on an isolated level from internet access. But definitely, if we are going to move towards the vision of Saudi Arabia, which is 2030, I think more or less these things are going to be converged, and entities and companies are looking out to have industrial systems on cloud. Definitely, this is one of the, you can say, the last preferred segment which will be opted, because presently, if you talk about from the other aspect, ERPs, enterprise platforms, analytics, all these things, more or less, the companies are leveraging, and they started expanding and leveraging the cloud platform. But for the OT, I think this could be the one of the last thing which everybody or the companies wanted to adopt it because of n number of reasons, and especially the security threats. Uh, and as I was just telling about the legacy infrastructure challenges, currently many OT systems are still designed without a cyber security in mind, because they never were designed since beginning that there was a kind of cyber security threats in their mindset. So it's difficult to patch. That is one of the reason. In some cases, you simply cannot take them offline because vulnerabilities remain open over there on the OT systems. I just move ahead. I can talk about critical risk is the supply chain and third party ecosystem. Usually, we provide access to vendors, contractors, and remote users for accessing the channels which are more as a weakest entry point. So everybody, each and every company has to manage these kind of incidents globally, and we have to have strong controls in place so that the attackers cannot break the system. And finally, I could talk about one more subject, which is I'm sure everybody is aware of it, which is ransomware attacks. Now, IT is not the only area where you can think about ransomware. Even ransomware attacks has been started and targeted on OT systems, actually to impact production environment with the potential to halt operations, more cause financial losses, more on a national level. These are the targets which has been predefined, and the entire world, or I could say the people, those who are having ill mentality, they are working on this. So usually what we are actually doing it, we are actually following the National Cyber Security Authority framework, and we are working very closely with the National Cyber Security Authority to proactively safeguard and uh, the entire OT environment. At the same time, we are internally we are providing OT awareness, resilience strategies, which has to be defined and documented, where you need to have the commitment from higher management also to achieve those things. Sai, again, you're mute.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, you did mention legacy OT systems, and with that, I'd like to direct my next question to Abdul Rahman Al Musfer on legacy systems. Uh, how would how should companies prioritize their security in legacy systems, specifically when they're not designed for cyber threats?
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, absolutely, loud and clear.
Thank you so much, Sai, and thanks for Q&A and the sponsors for hosting me. Before I start, I just want to compliment what Mohammed was saying about the safety aspect. So 100% right. And when we think about OT resilience, we always must consider the HAZOP part of OT, or the HAZOP part of resilience. So what is the impact of cybersecurity incident from an environmental and safety point of view? So on that topic specifically, we are working closely with the National Cybersecurity Authority in KSA, and also Saudi Aramco and some other customers and partners under the umbrella of the Global Cybersecurity Forum, and we are addressing these topics together with them. So Schneider Electric as an OEM, as Mohammed mentioned, and as an original equipment manufacturer and OT vendor, we have a huge responsibility of connecting the dots between, from a cybersecurity resilience perspective, between the authorities, the end users, and other system integrators or any other, like let's say, stakeholders within the value chain of OT products. Going to your question, Sai. So when you speak about legacy systems, and this is a problem is like more complicated than what people think, because we have huge critical infrastructure, like let's say install based, whether like it was installed throughout the years, where cybersecurity from a governance perspective or from technology perspective was not there. So when we think about securing legacy OT systems, the first thing is to prioritize the risk and to minimize the risk surface. This is the first point. So we must do like risk-based approach to identify the critical assets only. The second thing is, like, we need to have full-time visibility of these assets. So we need to do network mapping. We need to do assets monitoring. And also, as mentioned by Mohammed as well, is the IT/OT segmentation. And here we are not speaking about any segmentation. It should be like ISA IEC 62443 zones with the right proper elements in place. Physical security as well. When we speak about also segmentation, we need to address physical security as well. Integrity checks before and after. So it's not necessarily only to have to check for malware, but also to have an integrity check, just to ensure integrity of these systems. When you speak about legacy systems, also we want to mention that we can have compensating control, like allow listing, mapping, also two-factor authentication and jump servers for any remote access. In case of we need it, we prefer not to have it. Patching and virtual patching, and here I want to raise one of the challenges that OT security they always have, which is not similar to IT, and this is where most people confuse between IT and OT, is the compatibility part when it comes to patching. So when you patch OT systems, the original equipment manufacturer or the OEM or who the company manufacturing that industrial control systems, whether it's a DCS, ESD, SCADA system, they need to do compatibility tests of the new patch. So it should be approved by the OEMs before implementing any patch. And this is why patching is totally different when you compare IT to OT. The integration is also very important, not only from a technological perspective, also to follow the enterprise or the company's governance policies, procedures, and upskilling the operation team. So when we think about legacy systems or install base of OT products, we always want to make the operation people more aware about cyber, and the cyber team also to be more aware about operations and safety, because it's an integration and upskilling is required on both angles. So the cyber people, they should know how the operation works, and the operation people, they should understand the fundamentals of cybersecurity. Yeah, this is my answer, Sai. You are muted again. Sorry.
Okay, I am so sorry about that, gentlemen. And yeah, thank you, Abdul Rahman. And I also would like to involve Amir in this conversation. Uh, While on the note of legacy OT systems and strengthening security, what role or how crucial is real-time monitoring in strengthening OT security in critical infrastructure?
Thank you, Sai. And I'm honored to join this session and express my views about the OT security, which is nowadays becoming very critical sector. And unfortunately, in past, most of the companies they were not giving a lot of attention towards the OT and OT security. So coming towards your question regarding the monitoring of the operational technology, that is very important and that is very critical because real-time monitoring plays a critical role in strengthening OT security continuously. Tracking system activity, detecting threats instantly. It enables quick incidents reduces downtime, help to identify abnormal behavior before it escalates and cause damage to the OT system. And additionally, it improves the visibility of industrial system support compliances and ensures the safety and reliability of the critical infrastructure. If you are having a system in practice, which is actually referring to the real-time monitoring. So real-time monitoring helps to detect immediately the threats that identifies the cyber threats, anomalies, or unauthorized activities as they occur. It also reduces the dwell time of attackers inside the OT operation, OT environments, and it also helps the faster incidence responses and reduce the MTTR uh, and MTTD. So real-time monitoring, if the system is in place, it helps a lot for the industries for enhancing the visibility of the active assets, integration of the automated system like that includes SAMs or SOARs or new AI-based tools and some real-time support protection against the advanced threats, which we normally call APTs. That is normally missed through the traditional security tools. These are the things are really important when we want to have real-time monitoring of the operating system. And real-time monitoring of the operating system is really one of the need of the time right now because nowadays cyber threats or cyber attacks more and more, especially in Saudi Arabia, it comes at number two of the cyber attacks in all over the world. So other challenges which we normally face in operational technology, as my colleagues they already mentioned, legacy system is one of the challenge, especially when the company is having a machine which is around 30, 40 years old and it's not a computer based and you have to bring the sensors in it and then you have to integrate these sensors with the machines to get the data and there you need to go for the integration and there are the loopholes for the cyber attacks. So you have to be very careful to develop a system which should be or must be, I would say, that based on the real-time monitoring system that will be helpful for continuously sporting and working together with the OT team to run the show. Yeah, sorry.
Right. You did give a gist on the cybersecurity and balancing it out in the with operational efficiency. I kind of want to direct that towards El Sudani, with the rise in cybersecurity in OTA environments. What can an organization do to best find the balance between operational efficiency and cybersecurity in OT environments? Uh, Amir, would you like to talk about that if you're okay with?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? I haven't
Right.
listened to. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was mainly asking about, like, you did mention that that cyber attacks are on the rise in Saudi Arabia. Now, how do organizations find the right kind of balance between operational efficiency and the right kind of system to secure their OT infrastructure?
Yeah. Um, See, as I just mentioned to you, first of all, the important thing is to develop a system for the real-time monitoring. When you are going for the real-time monitoring, see, it's normally in manufacturing industry or energy sector and water sector, normally what happens, the operations are 24 by 7, and there are shifts day and night going on. So that means the operation and the activities are all there in across the day, 24 by 7. So in this case, you need to develop a system to protect you to protect the IT and OT, which supposed to have AI driven tools like that can automate hacking and bypass traditional defensing. Example, attackers use AI powered malware that automatically changes the behavior to avoid the detection by the security. So we need to also bring those cybersecurity equipments that are equipped with the AI defense, like nowadays. Fortinet, Podlot, or even Cisco, they are also providing the AI-based tools to protect, to detect the malwares and ransoms. Secondly, encryption of OT system and to disrupt the operation, it is basically very important thing. For example, if I give you one example, if you take an example back in 2021, I think it was a colonial pipeline issue that has happened. There was an attack of ransom attack on colonial pipeline company in USA that stops the whole system and cost millions of dollars loss because the operation stops for a week. And that kind of if we want to avoid these kind of things, we need to bring the more advanced techniques, more AI-based tools, and we need to develop sign and security information and event management and a sort of a system which can automate the responses to the threats which are existing in the cyber world. And I just explained in my previous question that what are those threats which can affect the operational technologies. Yeah, so
Yeah, thanks for that, Amir. And Abdul Rahman, with regulatory landscape shaping the change of norms in how cybersecurity is practiced, how crucial is Saudi Arabia's strategy in progressing critical infrastructure protection?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. So basically, as I think most of you are aware, based on the International Telecommunication Union, they have an index called Global Cybersecurity Index. Saudi Arabia is number one. And what was the secret, or what was the recipe for Saudi Arabia to become number one, is not by only writing a policy, but to execute it at scale, to make it more operational. So we have a centralized agency, that the cybersecurity authority in KSA, the National Cybersecurity Authority in KSA, and they came up with the regulation, the ECC, then the OT1, OTCC, and they invited vendors like Schneider Electric to be part of the committee. So they got the opinion or the feedback from the end users, from the OEMs, to make it more operational, to enable implementation at scale, and focusing on resilience rather than only writing regulation. So we have the CNI regulations, critical national infrastructure, and the non-CNI. So also now there is a focus on the private sector as well to comply. There are like also sector-based regulations. So depending on the industry, depending on the sector, we have these controls. Also, the direction of the strategy from the country is to make cybersecurity as an economical enabler. So having these incubators and support to establish local cybersecurity services and technologies, having also the right data requirements, data sovereignty, cloud mandates as well. So all these together, I think, make Saudi Arabia really like ahead of the like, let's say, the average, or the at the peak of the this kind of race toward building more resilient, sustainable cybersecurity posture for the country.
Thank you for that, Abdul Rahman. And Muhammad, we did cover earlier a little while back when you did answer a previous question. You did have quite a bit to say about legacy OT systems and about regulatory frameworks. How is Saudi Arabia's regulatory landscape shaping, or what should like an effective incident response plan look like for OT environments?
Thank you very much, Sai, for raising this critical question, because incident response plan is something very critical for IT as well as OT systems. As you have asked, like two segregation of questions. So first, let me talk about the National Cyber Security Authority, which is NCA. NCA, I think. They have done a tremendous job by coming up with the regulatory things related to the IT and the OT system, especially keeping in mind the national critical entities, which has to be safeguarded. And since they have established the entire I could say the framework, it is more helpful to follow and do a back and forth communication with them, because honestly it's a kind of interactive things which happens with the NCA. If you are actually you enroll yourself to NCA, then you get a guided hand where you know what you are trying to achieve, and you know how things could be achieved, because it's a something where they are sharing the entire framework, and they are actually guiding also to achieve that. uh, so they are pretty much on toes and providing the required information for each and every sector to opt it. Now moving ahead to the incident response plan, it's a very critical thing, and I think each and every company, those who are actually working in IT, OT, and especially in sectors where manufacturing, energy, utilities, each and every company, they hold this document, and it's a kind of a document and actually a policy and a procedure that has to be in place. Now, moving ahead on the OT incident response plan, we have to be pretty much clear that it's not something from an aspect that usually people think from an aspect of IT. No, it cannot be you just pull the plug. It can never be. So there are certain key elements that has to be taken into consideration to draw an incident response plan, especially for the IT, OT. Uh, so we have to shift our mindset, OT actually the priorities are very clear. It is like first safety, safety, again safety three times, then continuity and control response. So this is an effective OT incident response plan should have this point. First thing is the safety before anything else. You ensure that the people are safe, then it goes on to the plant, and then definitely it goes to the environment, because these industries are certain industries that could have an impact on multiple entities or multiple, the segregation of it. So this things has to be taken into consideration. That means we need to have a predefined procedures for safe shutdowns or control operations. Uh, Controls need to be placed. Moving ahead, again, I'll go up in like a couple of points, 3 to 4 points. Second, which I feel is like OT has a specific playbooks. It's not something usually like IT. So you need to have scenarios. You need to have PLC like scenarios like PLC compromise, SCADA disruption, or loss of production, or loss of visibility, and each and every part of it should have a clear steps on what to do in each case if anything happens, or if you are in such a issue, then you need to have everything documented, and a very straightforward document that everybody should be able to go through with it and do the required, because it could even have an impact on your environment, especially, and at the same time your neighbors, because usually these industries are segregated in high risk, medium, and low categories wise. So then moving on to the third point, which I feel is like clear coordination between again IT and OT team is very, very, very crucial and very critical. Usually it happens in organizations, during any crisis, there is a lot of confusion, and that confusion can cause more damage than the attack itself. Assume if there is any attack, usually people panic, internal teams, internal the, the company employees panic. So we need to have a clear roles and responsibilities, which is going to be defining what and who has to do, who leads, who supports, and how decisions are being made. So this is a third very core and key important point which has to be taken into consideration. Um, Moving ahead, another key element is I think I have mentioned in my earlier question, network segmentation and isolation capabilities. You should be able to isolate affected zones without shutting down the entire, operations. This is where usually a good architectural rely pays off, because if you have the thought in a way that you could divide and you could segment it, then I think that could be the most uh, you can say advanced thing which you could achieve it during any kind of crisis. Equally important is absolutely visibility and monitoring. It is like for good, and you need to have real time awareness on what is happening on OT network. It could be done ideally through passive monitoring that usually doesn't disrupt operations. And the most important, I think, and the final one, which I could say as of now, is testing and drills. Many organizations have plans on paper, but in reality, they have never practiced them. I know that it is something a big challenge to do it, especially in the OT environment. But at least these things could be planned during you can say the calendar of like turnaround activities or shutdown activities, whatever the schedule comes up. These things could be planned during those period of time, and if whatever we could do a kind of simulations, regular tabletop exercises that also has to be taken into consideration to make the difference between a chaos response and control response during any actual incident. I think I've added most of the things which I felt like I covered up.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful listening to you, anyways, Mohammed. So not a problem. Uh, but on the, I mean, we are kind of a little short on time at the moment, but we'll try to not skip any of the questions. Quickly with Abdul Rahman, how can organizations improve resilience and recovery time after a cyber incident?
So here I would like to speak about an approach that when we speak about OT systems, everyone is saying that it should be secure by design. It should be secure by design. OEMs always have the responsibility to make their product all secure by design, but we are missing a lot. And this is where I want to show how we are trying to contribute and how like the focus or the next, let's say, resilience strategy should have focus also not only on secure by design but also secure by implementation. And here we speak about the supply chain aspects of implementing, testing, factory acceptances, site acceptances, how we ship it uh, to the end user or to the facility. Eh, Also the spare part, the anything related to maintenance or to parts or to upgrades of OT systems as well. So all the supply chain aspects must be addressed as well. And here also I want to speak about another initiative which is called Secure by Operation. So the OEM role is not only stops after we implement. So let's say if the OT system is commissioned, then that's it. We don't have responsibility. But no, here Schneider Electric is like doing another step, which is the secure by operation initiatives and what we call the install-based security. So what we do, and this is complement. This is something we are doing it like complementary. We are not charging for it. We are investing time and effort. We are having like a relationship with, or we have a partnership with external scoring platforms like Bidside to secure our install-based devices. So let's assume if there is an OT device commissioned 3 years ago or 5 years ago. So we try to locate these OT install-based devices. So some of these devices, they might have vulnerability. Some of these devices, they might have like something like they shouldn't be connected into the internet in the first place. They might be misconfigured, but they are hackable. They are exposed on the internet. And we try to go to the national authority, for example, in Saudi Arabia, NCA, or try to identify the end user, whoever like critical infrastructure entity using it. And also to ensure resilience and recovery, we need to design resilience always based on the breach. So we need to ensure that from a business continuity perspective, like RTO, recovery time objective, and RPO, recovery point objective, are very well tested. So we need to do testing. So, and we have to have a specific incident playbook specialized for OT, understanding the nature of OT and what kind of incidents can impact in terms of safety, in terms of operations, financial loss, everything. And also to have strong IT OT coordination. So the communication plans, how we communicate during an incident. So, for example, also for us, we are doing like tabletop exercises or cyber drills as a something like of trust relationship building with our end user customers. And here we are mainly speaking about the petrochemical and the energy sector as well. So Saudi Energy, Saudi Aramco, SABIC, Saudi Water Desalination. So we are trying to test these scenarios of any cyber security attack and identifying the contacts, identifying who to contact, what should be done, how we mobilize the team. All these things we are taking into consideration. Also, the third party risk as well. So here, I would like to mention, like for example, the Triple C or the Cybersecurity Compliance Certificate from Saudi Aramco. So all vendors or all third parties working with critical infrastructure, they must comply with like minimum cybersecurity baselines of controls, and also to test it to provide also the required information about who will do what during incident response, what is the timeline of incident notification, what is the timeline for the triage, for uh, notifying about any data breaches. Is there any privacy aspect? Is there any safety aspect? So all these things must be considered as part of the testing and when we design our business continuity plans or our resilience plans as well. Yeah, that's it from my
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much, Abdul Rahman. And I think I was just going through the Q&A chat box, and I think Mohammed has answered almost all the questions over there. I think we can still pull through one question. And Amir, I'd like to direct that to you. Is how important is regulatory compliance in actually improving security? And we're talking beyond just meeting requirements or like statutory requirements.
Regulatory requirements are very important in developing the security framework within any industry, whether it is a manufacturing industry or oil and gas industry or power industry. So, like Muhammad and he already mentioned, there are some regulatory compliance related rules and regulations which has been released by NCA, National Cybersecurity Authorities, and which is now compulsory for every industry to follow. In so when we are going for real-time protection against these threats, right? So we need to follow those regulations. And because if any company or any industry is not following and it will be in effect or attacked, then there will be a huge problem not only for that industry but also for the other correlated industries or correlated companies who are working with that company, right? So in this case, the regulation which has been released or and compulsory to implement from NCA are playing a very critical role. And the companies, they must follow the compliance because the emerging threats in operational technologies are becoming more advanced and dangerous because they can directly impact the physical processes in industries like power, oil and gas, and manufacturing, as I mentioned before. For example, if you take a nowadays AI, fourth revolution, industrial revolution is the AI, and hackers they are also using AI to attack not only the IT but also the OT side. So AI-driven attacks are one of the most concerning threats today. How you can cover it up if you are following the regulations for the security, and what you can do in these attacks where the criminals are actually using artificial intelligence to automate the hacking, quickly identify the system weaknesses, So in this case, you can enhance your security. You can identify the weaknesses if you have implemented the regulations and following the instructions of the regulatory authorities, and adopting technique where in some cases the attackers or hackers, they are actually adopting the techniques to bypass the security defenses. So if you want to develop a defense, you have to follow the regulations. So if the regulations are because the regulations gives you the direction and the dimension in which you can develop your cybersecurity defenses, that actually helps to prevent the attacks, which are more smarter and harder. And on the other hand, this can also help the companies to protect themselves against the ransomware attacks, which are another type of major risk. In ransomware attacks, attackers normally encrypt the OT system or production environments and demand payments to restore. So this can stop the entire industrial operation and causing production delays, financial losses, and even safety hazards in critical infrastructure. So if we are following the regulations and if we are implementing and complying the regulations of the security framework, definitely we can save ourselves from these kind of things. And the last, I would say that overall, the emerging threats are highly concerning because they are more intelligent, persistent, and capable of disrupting the real world industrial operations and critical infrastructures. So, in order to prevent and protect yourself, it is very important to follow the regulations and compliances which has been given or guided or directed by the regulatory authorities like NCA.
Sorry, I will just interrupt for a couple of seconds. It's not going to take much long. Just I wanted to add, as you are aligned with the regulatory and compliance perspective, NCA, Saudi Arabia is doing a tremendous job, as I mentioned earlier also, because once you are aligned with them, you are actually having one more layer of control because they are part of you, which they are monitoring, and they are actually guiding you how to safeguard yourself from different aspects of threats. That's all.
Thank you so much, Mohammed and Ahmed, for the insights. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a wonderful discussion. It's been an honor to engage with senior leaders such as yourself, and an absolute pleasure to have you join us today. We wrap this panel discussion with this, and thank you so much for joining in. Really look forward to collaborating with you all again soon.
Thank you, Sai, Ramshad,
Thank
organizers, Q&A
thank you
team.
all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
For
everybody.
organizing and actually giving us a platform to share our knowledges and experiences.
Yeah, the honor's ours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Right, so let's now proceed to a fireside chat titled From Visibility to Action, Turning OT Cyber Risk into Operational Resilience. Joining us on this exciting topic is Mr. Hussam Abu Rida, MEA Technical Director, TX1 Networks. Welcome, Hussam.
Hi, Sai. Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah,
Hi to
pleasure to have
everyone.
you join us as well, Hussam. Would you want to do a quick introduction of yourself as well for our audience, please?
Yeah, my name is Hussam Abreda, and I work for TX1 Networks, which is a very specialized company in the area of OT cybersecurity. And I'm handling the role of Technical Director for Middle East and Africa region.
Yeah, and a welcome once again to you, Hussam.
Thank you. Thank you, Sai.
Yeah, I mean, let's just dive right into the questions. There's quite a bit I've been meaning to discuss with you as well. Why does the gap between OT visibility and real risk reduction still exist? in today's ever evolving or ever developing world?
Well, thank you for that very important question. Well, let's start by looking into the reason why that gap exists. And I will start with saying that visibility does not automatically translate into enforceable or safe remediation actions. And in OT environments, OT systems, they always prioritize availability, safety. These two main things are the top priorities over security actions, which might interrupt the production or cause any kind of slowness or outage of the service. So, you know, so patching, for example, or isolating vulnerabilities, if it's not done in a proper way or by taking the right measures in OT environments, definitely it's going to cause some outage in the systems and will disrupt production or create safety hazards at the same time. So if we think of the the key structural challenges that creates that gap. So I can start with, OT environments have compatibility issues when it comes to, fixing vulnerabilities or fixing problems in the systems, the IT style way, which unlike IT, OT cannot easily patch or isolate a vulnerability without risking a downtime. And that's a big phrase when we talk about downtime in OT environments. Once you say downtime, everyone sitting on the table will start panicking. So that's not easy in OT. That's a first challenge. Um, the other thing is legacy systems, they comes from OEM with its own vendor limitations and constraints. It's not easy to modify those systems or update them or apply any kind of fixes. It's always a big challenge and a big hassle when it comes to applying these things. Another challenge I would think of is, which is very important, by the way, is the lack of integration between the visibility tools and the enforcement tools or controls. So you have visibility, you identify the risks, but sometimes in a very automated way, but you always find it difficult to link that to an effective enforcement control through firewalls or endpoints or any other OT cybersecurity solutions. One thing more which very important to highlight here is, there is always a silo between IT and OT. So IT, they have different priorities. OT, they have completely different priorities, and they are each one of them is, working and operating in his own, let's say, tunnel vision, which always creates a lot of slowness, a lot of delay when it comes to applying the right or concluding first, and then applying the right controls to protect the systems. So, these are the main things when it comes to challenges that creates that gap. And I'd like to jump now to how to close that gap. We talked about the challenges, what really creates that gap. People always will ask that question. Okay, thank you for the enlightenment. How can we close it? Which is the most important question, actually. So, which is uh, definitely there are very recommended approaches, and this is exactly why at TX1 Networks we push different approach to close that gap. So it's not for us, it's not just visibility, but visibility is there. It's very important, and the most important after that is how to tie it to a protection and safe enforcement. And the main things we focus in TX1 with our OT cybersecurity solutions is to integrate visibility with enforcement. So you have a visibility of a threat of a risk. Now you need to take an action, and we make that very easy, very dynamic, very automated. So using network segmentation and policy-driven controls to link every single one of those insights into a real actionable defense. The second thing is risk-based prioritization, where we move beyond generic CVSS scores, which talk about vulnerability scores and criticality, to prioritize what is really affecting the operation, risks that can impact the operations. And then through centralized management and full visibility dashboards and controls, we strengthen the IT and OT collaboration with the governance, guidance, and processes. So that's what I can think of answering the question. I hope it's useful for everyone.
Yeah, you mentioned prioritizing threats. So when it comes to prioritization, are there like signals and indicators that truly matter in identifying these critical OT risks?
Yes, definitely, actually. So let me start by clarifying one thing, which is the source of the issue when it comes to creating a proper prioritization for the risks and the threats in OT environment. So a lot of teams, they still, I mentioned that, but I will make it try to clarify it more. They still prioritize OT risk-based on what's easiest to see, like alerts, vulnerabilities, asset counts, asset status, rather than what actually drives operational or safety impact to the organization. So the signals are truly important, and the ones that connect cyber exposure to physical consequences are the ones that really matter. So let me provide some indicators here with where OT security specialists are recommended to look into. I will start with process criticality. So non-IT style, which is a non-IT style severity, it's completely different. IT always focusing on vulnerability scores and threat scores. But let me give an example. An unpatched PLC, for example, running a safety critical process, for example, pressure control, turbine protection, is inherently higher risk than a fully exposed HMI on an uncritical line, regardless of the CVSS we are looking into at this context. Another signal I'd like to bring in here is the lack of segmentation combined with high connectivity. So most OT networks are based on flat design. So every system is connected to the whole network in a flat way. There is no segmentation. That really should be highlighted as a very high risk and need to be prioritized. When we also look at vulnerabilities, and I know CVEs and scores are very important, but we need to look into the impact on the operation and then apply the isolation controls based on what we conclude of that measurement, how much impact on the operation that it can happen. Access weaknesses, we need to always look into the areas that there is a weakness when it comes to an ease of access to an exposed HMI or a system, what kind of privileges a hacker might get and reach to when there is an incident. in many OT environments, we find duplicated, images with the same admin passwords, with the same credentials. All of these things are really important signals to look into when we when we lay out our prioritization chart as well. So also the capability of detecting threats, we need to look into that. Do we have that right capability and visibility? And how can we convert that detection or that visibility context into a real response, effective response that can protect our assets? So in conclusion, this is what I think why mature OT risk models are moving from CVSS-driven rankings or scores, the standard scores, toward a scenario-based risk, identifying exactly when we are going to have an impact on the operation, a loss of view, a loss of control, or even a loss of safety.
I'm sure you get this, you might get this quite a bit, but are there any like real world examples from your time at TX1 where the major visibility was successfully translated into measuring operational resilience?
Yeah, definitely. So a good example that I can it always comes often actually, and especially in energy and transmission operators. Um, all of them, they already have, visibility in a very wide context. They have asset inventory, they have network monitoring, they have anomaly detection, and many other tools when it comes to having visibility. So yet they are already implementing and using all of these kind of tools, but they still uh, suffer that incidents are impacting the operations because simply the visibility are not being quickly and automatically translated into protection. So what they really did and changed that status or that situation, that they had already deployed OT visibility like the ones I mentioned, and they map it, especially assets and detections, uh, into an operational defense actions, which with TX1 solutions, they were able to shift from visibility as an end in many situations to visibility as a decision making, a decision engine. So they moved from asset view to process view because they need to understand what really actually impacts their operation and uh, create their prioritizations based on that. The other thing is that they were easily moved from, alerts. And when we talk about cybersecurity alerts, we are talking about thousands every day and without prioritization, without effective ways to indicate which one is really serious at this moment, need an action. They were able to move from that to a full protection actions. For example, once there is a suspicious movement, there is an immediate segmentation enforced immediately with network segmentation. If there is an authorized change, there are in any of the endpoints or the HMI systems or other OT systems, there is an immediate containment controls to isolate that system and protect the other parts of the network from that kind of suspicious movement. So also integration between visibility and enforcement or protection controls, uh, it minimized big time the silos between the IT and OT and other department concerned when it comes to cybersecurity solutions. So in conclusion, they were able to have 40 to 60% faster response and a significant reduction in operational disruption. So the bottom line, I can put it this way. Yes, resilience doesn't come from seeing more, but in reality, it comes from acting faster and smarter as well. I don't hear you. Sorry, I think maybe you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I hadn't noticed that.
No problem.
Yeah, I was just saying, let's talk legacy systems. They still seem to be a major challenge in OT. What practical approaches would you recommend in terms of how we can secure these systems without disrupting the operations?
Yeah, that's a common, let's say, pain point uh, in every single OT environment. And it's very important to highlight that with clarity, how to, confront that challenge and achieve good results. So let's start by facing a fact that is legacy OT systems are not going away. The lifetime of an OT system is, let me start by the lifetime of an IT systems, which is usually 5 years. You can add another couple of years when it comes to servers maximum. But in OT, we are talking about 15 to 25 years. So trying to update them, trying to apply fixes and patches and upgrades, that's not something easy considering the continuity of an OT production that is 24/7, does not accept any kind of downtime. And in most of OT environments, downtime planning can happen once or twice a year in many scenarios. That's it. You have a couple of hours of downtime to do everything you think of or you dream of once or twice every year, which is something not that easy. So if I want to highlight the approach mechanism that require to, keep those legacy OT systems protected, I will start by saying, okay, you don't need to fix the system itself because it's not easy and you cannot do that often. If you look into updates, every week we have hundreds of updates for operating systems and applications, and they cannot keep up with this kind of quick and fast requirements. So I will start by saying that at first, network segmentation is required, and that's guaranteed in case of having a incident somewhere in your OT environment. That incident is definitely isolated, cannot spread to other areas in your network. And a second thing, virtual patching and intrusion prevention, meaning that you don't need to update your systems, but at the same time, you have to implement those type of protection techniques, especially virtual patching, where you shield any vulnerabilities that those systems are suffering from and block any attempts of exploiting those vulnerabilities without going through the hassle of updating the system itself. Intrusion prevention definitely is very important, which inspect traffic inline and take the right actions once there is a threat or any exploitation attempt is going on, and protect your systems effectively. Um, Stricting access control is also very important, where you can define, uh, for example, multi-factor authentication and make sure only the people and processes that are legitimate and allowed to access your systems, those are the only ones who can do that. Other things already there, but I will finish with one that which I believe most important as well is application whitelisting. When we talk about ransomwares, malicious software, these are applications at the end that run on the system. Yes, they cause damage, but at the end, they are software or an application. So you need the right application whitelisting control on those systems to make sure only the legitimate applications are the ones that can run on the system, and anything else will be by default blocked. And those points I mentioned are the core of TX1 approach, which is very, from my point of view, very pragmatic. Simply, we know that it's not easy to fix an asset, so don't try to fix it, but implement the right controls to protect that asset and shield it and make it, in an area away from the threats that can affect it and bring it down.
Looking ahead, how do you see the role of automation and AI evolving in turning OT insights into faster, more effective action?
Yes, AI is very important. It's everywhere right now. Wherever you turn your head, AI is there. So in cybersecurity, especially in OT, there is a very big challenge, a very big problem. And that problem is not lack of data. Actually, the problem is it's too much data without having the right tools to translate it into real context, and enables you to look into it and define exactly where are the threats, what's really under risk, what decisions need uh, to be taken. So what we are seeing, and in TX1, our strategy is to build towards moving from detection only to decision support, and to implement protection actions. So let me start by asking a very common question. When you look at any kind of threat or alert, you need to ask a basic question, because you are looking into thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of alerts. Does it actually impact the operations or safety? And from there, you start, identifying the stages you need to go through. For example, AI will be used to analyze all those kind of data and provide context, and then it will recommend actions. For example, to isolate a PLC, or to implement a network segment isolation, or block a specific protocol. And after that, there's an operator need to review those kind of recommendations and take actions. Because to make it automated, when it comes to OT, that might affect safety measures, concerns, and definitely it's not something easy to compromise. Another thing is to have a process-aware response. Those AI tools need to understand industrial processes, not just look into packets. They need to understand the relation between the running processes and the real production that is already in that OT environment. And then decides, based on that knowledge, based on that database of information or OT cybersecurity information, what exactly physically need to be taken as an action to apply the required protection. So I will summarize it in a way that I don't think full automation will happen in OT, because, again, as I said, safety always comes first. So AI is very important and very essential, but it will not replace operators. It will reduce the decision taking time, definitely from hours, in some scenarios from days. It will reduce it to minutes, which is a significant improvement if we look at any OT cybersecurity framework.
I think that wraps up my questions for you, Hossam. But we do have a bunch of questions coming up on our Q&A chat box. And if you take if you take some time to answer some of those questions. First one being, what's a simple first step companies take to improve visibility in legacy environments?
Sorry, which question? I didn't hear you reading the question. Which one is that?
Okay, so the question's basically, what's a simple first step that companies can take to improve visibility, especially in legacy environments?
Okay, visibility is defined in two areas, network and systems. So definitely you need to have the network visibility tools already implemented, like network monitoring, anomaly detection. Those kind of tools need to be implemented, which will give you a clear idea what's really is going on in your network. And it already has intelligence and, uh, helping tools to show you if there is any specific risk going on and what are the risks that really need immediate actions, the ranking of those risks, the prioritization, and will help you also with recommendations how to fix whatever the threat or risk going on. On the systems as well, you need to have asset inventory. You need to, many OT organizations, when we ask them, how many assets you have, what type of assets you have, what type of hardware specs, softwares implemented, they we find them face difficulties to answer those kind of questions. So asset inventory is very, very important. If you don't know what kind of assets you have, how are you gonna protect it? So that's another thing on the system side when it comes to having full inventory of your hardwares, of the softwares already implemented. So you can map all of these kind of factors, which is the assets. We can map it to risks and threats detected. And at the end, through the tools you are implementing, you can easily reach to a decision how to implement, which protection controls to implement and how to implement. I hope that answers the question.
Right. There is a question on the use of AI. With AI used for every aspect, and if used to monitor and enhance OT security, it can also be a, well, double-edged sword. How can this be handled to ensure total secure OT environment?
I would agree with that concern 100% because, as I said in the last question, AI, it will automate the analysis of the data and it will provide a proper context where operators can understand what kind of risk and threat is there. And also it will uh, recommend protection actions. So to avoid that double-edged sword that really can affect the operations and the processes, you need to have the right people in middle to look into the recommendations generated by the AI and that cybersecurity context. And they understand their environment better, definitely, and then decide which recommendation to implement and how to implement it safely, considering every single aspect and angles of their OT operations.
And one last question I think we've got. How do organizations avoid getting stuck in analysis paralysis?
Okay. Again, we said it's too much data that can be generated by all the kind of cybersecurity tools you have in your environment. And that definitely can overwhelm no matter the size of team you have. So having the right tools to, especially AI tools and automated learning tools, which in TX1 we consider it as a core of our technology, which make it easy for cybersecurity administrators and specialists to have a, an exact and accurate view of the risk and threats in their environment without the need to go through thousands and thousands of alerts and logs and analyze each one of them. So using those kind of tools definitely will help to, avoid that kind of, I can call it a bottleneck when it comes to taking a decision how to protect our OT environments. And definitely a second review has to be always done once a auto learning or an AI tool is providing you with a protection recommendation. You review that and then decide how to do it in a proper and safe way, guarantee your OT infrastructure continuance. You are muted, Sai.
My apologies once
No
again.
worries.
Yeah, I think that wraps up our Facet chat, Hussam. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a wonderful discussion, and a big shout out to TX1 as well. It's been an honor to collaborate with TX1, and an absolute pleasure to have you join us today.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, everyone. And see you soon, another event.
Definitely.
Take care.
We'll now have a quiz to test your knowledge on operational technology security. Please take 2 minutes to complete the quiz on your screen. 10 lucky winners will receive exciting gifts, so make sure you participate. All right, so the quiz is up on screen. You have 2 minutes and you can answer as many questions as you can. And once again, repeating, 10 lucky winners will get some exciting prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway there. Sixty seconds to go. And time. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of today's program. I would like to take a moment to thank you all for joining OT Shield KSA, organized by Q&A, and for contributing to a meaningful discussion on the future of operational technology security in the kingdom. The exchange of ideas today reflects the importance of collaboration, preparedness, and innovation in securing critical industrial environments. We also extend our sincere gratitude to our innovation sponsor, TX1 Networks, our esteemed speakers, and everyone who joined us online. Your participation has helped us make this webinar a grand success. Thank you once again for your time and engagement. We wish you the productive rest of the day.